Now it's time for us to discuss how to prepare your CV. If you are aiming to present a CV for your admissions, for scholarships, for job applications, ensure that these key elements we are about to highlight, you indicate them in all your CVs. Every CV that you submit needs to highlight, it needs to be highly organized to highlight your achievements, your experiences, your awards, your skills that you have. So all these things needs to be highlighted and needs to be well organized. So now let's begin some key elements we can look for in a well-presented CV. So same as you did for your personal statement or a statement of purpose, number 1 to 13, and let's discuss each key element that you will need to highlight in your CV. So the first key element we will discuss is your contact information. Ensure that you have your full name, your telephone number, your contact details, and your email address on your CV. It should be bold enough for someone who is reading your CV. Next key element is your education. So education, ensure that you have listed your history of education in a chronological order such that your most recent education should be the one that comes first and the previous ones will follow. Ensure that whilst you are writing all those history of your education, you indicate your achievements, whether you obtain a first class, whether you obtain a second class. Ensure that you have them detailed under each of your education history as well. And also ensure that you indicate the year you started and the year you finished that specific education. So in a chronological order, the most recent first and the next follows. Next key element is your research experience. If you have conducted any form of research, whether it was your undergraduate studies or whether it was a part-time project or whether it was before your undergraduate studies or whether it was after your undergraduate studies, ensure that you write out all those research projects you have engaged in and ensure to write out the skills that you obtain in all those. So whilst you are listing all those research projects that you have been part of, you need to also ensure that you indicate your role in that project and the skills that you obtained when you were doing that project. So whether it was questioning skills, so whether it was using a specific tool for data analysis, whether it was looking out for literature articles, so whether it was doing reviews of articles, make sure you indicate all those skills that you've obtained or you have equipped yourself with during the time that you were undertaking those projects. Under the same element, if you have any publications or if you have attended any conferences or if you have done any posters as part of these projects you were part of, ensure to indicate and reference all of these in your CV. This is going to make you stand apart from those who are just going to be writing general skills that they've obtained in their research projects. So the next is your work experience, which is the next key element we are discussing. Highlight all those work experiences that you've gathered so far, especially if it relates to the scholarship that you are making the application for or the job that you are making the application for. Ensure that you highlight every element of skills, especially transferable skills that you've obtained in your current job or your current work institution that you believe is going to be relevant in your next job that you are making application for. Ensure to highlight all those skills. So the next key element is skills in general. So if you have any soft skills that you think is relevant to the application you are making, it's time for you to highlight those soft skills. If you are conversant with the use of some specific software, if you are conversant with the use of MS Word, conversant with the use of some specific laboratory equipment or some techniques or programming languages, or if you are conversant with the use of a specific software, it's time for you to highlight those skills, especially if it relates to the application that you are making. If it does not really have a connection to the application you are making, maybe you'd want to ignore that. But if it has some transferable skills you can use in the next application you are making, then you would need to highlight them as well. So next key element is honors and awards. If you have had the privilege to be awarded any form of scholarship, any form of achievement, it's time for you to list those awards that you've gotten. Whether it's research related or whether it's academic achievement, it's time for you to list them. Or whether you've gained some scholarships in your previous studies, it's time for you to list those awards. So it's good to indicate how your academic achievement has influenced your journey so far. So once you are writing out your research experience, you can choose to create sections for just your publications if you have several publications to list and indicate the years that you undertook or you published those research papers. You can also have a section for presentations and some poster presentations, some conferences you've been part of, if there are several of them that you want to highlight, especially if it relates to your application. So you can choose to either create sections or choose to indicate them all under your research experience. That is up to you. So next key element we are looking at is your professional membership. If you are part of a specific profession and you believe that it's relevant to the application you are making, ensure to indicate. So whether you are part of the Nurses and Midwives Association, whether you are part of General Medical Association, so you can create a section and then indicate your membership, your professional membership you are part of under those sections. Another key element is extracurricular activities or volunteering. If you have been part of any projects outside your normal academic journey and you feel like it relates to the scholarships or it relates to the applications, the job applications you're making, you can highlight those volunteering activities. So for instance, if you were part of the students' leadership body and you believe that your experiences or the skills you gained would be necessary to the applications you are making, you can highlight that. Next key element is to have a section for languages. That is only when the application you are making would require you to have another language that you are fluent in. So for instance, if you are making an application for admissions or a job that would require you to have another language, you can create a section for languages and indicate how fluent you are in those languages. This would help your application. Last but not the least would be references. Some applications would require you to enter the details of your referees so that they would contact them directly. Ensure that you go through all the instructions given for all the applications that you are making. And if they are requesting that you write out the details of your referees, now it's time for you to create a section for referees and write out their names, their contact details, especially their professional emails, which is what most of the admissions applications and the scholarships and the job applications they would prefer. So ensure that you read that. However, if there is no request for you to include your referees on your CV, you may choose to ignore that, because during your application at some point you will still be needed or you will still be requested to send in those details for your referees. So some tips for your CV: ensure that they are well organized and therefore they also have clear headings with some bullet points highlighting the most important parts of your skills, your experiences, your achievements in bullet points. Make sure it's easy to read and also try to keep the maximum of 1 to 2 pages. And don't forget that your CVs needs to be specific to the applications that you are making. So do not create just one CV and send it across all applications, especially if there are some elements that you need to make sure your CVs are tailored specifically for specific applications.